Evening, everybody. It's 5:52, and this is your closing comment for Monday the 13th, and it's video number 1059. Okay, well, you can always count on the excessive euphoria of the teleprompter readers when they get all carried away with any specific company or area. What I'm speaking about is the fact that this morning, when Apple was up and making a new all-time high at 182.13, they were all busy opining about how long it was going to take the company to go from 3 trillion in market cap to 4 trillion. And of course, everybody was ecstatic. And the fact is, it didn't reach 3 trillion. It did reverse. And after trading 182.13, it closed 175 and 3/4, down 371 on the day. And it was the only bright spot in the market as it relates to the mega cap or FANG stocks. Getting back to the real world, Pfizer 55.22 up 244, 4.6%. I don't know whether that was one or the other or a combination of the Omicron death in the UK that was reported this morning, or the fact that the street really likes their purchase of ARNA Arena at $100 a share in all cash. Arena this morning was 96, and it was up 46. It did not hold that, although it did close up 80%, 90.08 up 40.14. So maybe a combination of things. I absolutely know what it was for Foghorn, FHTX, which this morning, on Friday, it closed at $11.99. This is a company that is getting a major corroboration with Eli Lilly in the cancer area. And the stock was as high as 19, and closed right up there near the high, 1858 up 659, or 56%. I mentioned this morning Bellus, BELLUS. Bellus was this morning. It was about 772 this morning, and that was up in the pre-market. It managed to get all the way up to 984 and hold most of it. It closed at 830 up 270, but 2 minutes after the close, I don't see any late trading on it, but 2 minutes after the close, it said it was going to raise money both here and in the US. So this is something that typically happens with these littler companies. When they get the opportunity to raise some money, they raise some money. And clearly it's the smartest thing to do, because most of them are heavy into R&D and have trouble financing it. Foghorn, for example, now has Lilly to finance whatever it does. So that's probably one of the reasons to be bullish on that. Okay. The meme stocks, horrendous. This just goes to show you that no matter how loyal you think your shareholder base is, when the CEO and insiders start to sell stock, the street sells stock. AMC, which in June of this year traded at 72 after Adam Aaron was portrayed as, the big man in the upper office, and he was heavily supported by all of his little shareholders. They call themselves the apes. But 72 is a long way away from 23.25, where it closed today, down 15%. Same situation with GME. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that there's anything wrong with CEOs selling stock. And frankly, there are 100 reasons why a CEO sells stock or an insider sells stock. There's only one reason why they buy it, and that's because they feel that it's undervalued. But clearly, these two have been taking money out as late as last month. GME was 255, closed today 136.88, down 22.13 or 14%. I also want to remind you that sometimes you don't know what you're getting in some of the ETFs, and I'll just remind you that GME is a member of the XRT ETF. So even some days when retail is strong, if GME is down, the XRT is down. So just something to be aware of. Okay, tomorrow we have PPI, Producer Price Index, and the Small Business Optimism numbers. So Dow down 320, 0.9%, and closing pretty close to the low. NASDAQ down 217 or 1.4%. S&P down 43 at 0.9%. The Russell was down 31, 1.42, the biggest loser. And the transports were down 193, so 1.18%. NYSE stocks were 2-to-1 to the downside. NASDAQ were 2.5 to 1 to the downside, and volume was lighter, which is not necessarily a good thing. Takes a lot less lack of buying to send stocks lower substantially than it does to have big volume on the buy side to push them up. The VIX closed 2031, that was up 162 or 8.7, and the chart on the screen is the S&P, and we really haven't broken to the downside. My attitude is I still think we're going to make another new high before we get set up for the first quarter of next year. But as you can see, we tried, and in point of fact, Friday was a closing high on the S&P. This high was 47.40 and a half. Today's high was 47.31. And we closed down here, down 15 at 46.79. Today we closed 46.68. So a little bit of a pullback. I still think, even if we can get down to 46.50 in that area, we probably will bounce again. Gold was up 3.5. Bitcoin, which started to the upside this morning and traded 50,500, closed down about 3/4 on the range at 46,593. The dollar was higher by 20 cents, and the bonds were up 1 1/8. So it's tough out there. I mean, just so that you know, the only two sectors today in my sector watch that were higher were biopharma, which is a defensive group, as well as the food supply chain group, the Tysons and Campbell's Soup and etc. So those were the only two out of 11 sectors that I watch. So pretty ugly day. All right, everyone, be careful out there. It's treacherous.